Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sheroes Amongst Us panel roundtable discussion. A quick background about this event. My name is Pcyeta Stroud. I am the director of the Bay Area Entrepreneur Center at Skyline College. I've been in collaboration with Alvin Gubatina. Alvin is the manager of the Student Life and Leadership Office at Skyline College. Alvin, say hello.
Hello, I am Alvin Gubatina, Student Life and Leadership Manager here at Skyline College. Thank you, Pcyeta, for helping us and making manifest this crazy dream that we had that started off as me walking past you in the library and saying, hey, let's go do this thing. And I'm like, okay. You won't see me too much on the screen. I'll be in the background, but I just wanted everybody to know, thank you for being here today. You could have been anywhere else, but you're here with us, and I'm truly grateful. Thank you, and everybody else, enjoy. Feel free to ask the questions in the chat, and I'll get to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Alvin. Alvin is right. Some of the most profound conversations happen in passing back when we were in passing on campus. So thank you, Alvin, for that. So this event is really designed to tap into some of the people in our lives, the everyday people. We call them Sheroes, and they do amazing things. So you all were asked to be on this panel for that reason. And we're going to get into some questions. Love to hear a little bit more about who you are and your everyday heroes. The first thing I'll do is introduce everyone on the panel. My first panelist we have with us today is Dr. Regina Stanback-Stroud. Dr. Stroud is the Chancellor for the Peralta Community College District. That is a 4-college district serving the entire East Bay and beyond. Dr. Stroud is also a registered nurse by trade, and she occasionally teaches in the doctoral program at San Francisco State University. Dr. Stroud is also President Emerita at Skyline College. Thank you for being with us today. Kaelynn Malani is our newly elected student trustee with the San Mateo County Community College District Board of Trustees. This spring, Kaelynn will graduate with an associate's degree in business administration and transfer to San Jose State University. Congrats, Kaelynn, and thank you for being with us today. Olivia Vialau is an engineering major at Skyline College. She is a member of a number of organizations that highlight women in the STEM field, and she is a leader in her own right. Olivia is a marketing coach for the Bay Area Entrepreneur Center at Skyline College, and she also serves as a staff assistant for the San Bruno Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Olivia. Gisel Martin is a local business strategist with broad reach. She serves the San Bruno area and beyond as a marketing and business strategist and consultant. She creates podcasts and strategy maps for her small businesses and for entrepreneurs. Gisel also serves as a one-on-one marketing strategist coach for the Bay Area Entrepreneur Center. Thank you for being with us, Gisel. Pam Ortiz is currently the Dream Center Program Services Coordinator at Skyline College, where she supports and advocates with and for the undocumented community. In 2018, Pam and Skyline College's Dream Center were featured in the New York Times. Awesome. Thank you for being with us today, Pam. Dr. Emilie Hein is a physics instructor at Skyline College. I get so excited, I fumble when I say that. Emilie grew up in France, and she holds a PhD in particle physics from UC Irvine. Thank you for being with us today, Emilie. Lucy Jovel is a counselor and Transfer Center faculty coordinator in the Skyline College Transfer Center. She has served the Skyline College community for 5 years. Thank you so much for being with us, Lucy. And last but most certainly not least, Maryam Khan is an engineering instructor at Skyline College. She is also the former Skyline College student. That is awesome, yay. Maryam is an advisor for WISER, the Women in Science and Engineering Represent Club, which encourages women's persistence in engineering and STEM. Thank you so much for being with us today, Maryam. Okay, so now that everyone has been properly introduced, I am going to get into our very first question. This question is for everyone. I will call on you just to make it a little bit easier. And it's a three-part question. So I'm going to start with Gisel. Gisel, please tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what mark you would like to leave on the world, and who is your Shero?
Hi, so I'm actually from here, from the San Francisco Peninsula. I was born in Daly City. I lived in San Francisco. I've lived in Millbrae and San Bruno pretty much my whole life, except for when I went to San Diego State for 5 years. So I'm a peninsula girl. That's what I am. I'm from here. Also, I have grown up with a Mexican-American background since my dad is from Mexico and all my family and everyone is from Mexico. So that's really important to me. What mark do I want to leave on the world? I just want to leave the mark of being me. Like, I really have learned, I've come into this understanding that if I am really truly authentic to who I am, then that's all that the world needs. And if I can be a role model so that others can be and live their lives as their true authentic selves and be true to who they are, then that's what I would like to show other people to do. Who is my hero? I actually have a few of them. The first major influence in my life has always been my mom and my grandmothers. I grew up in a very, very matriarchal family, so that they've always been heroes in my life. And I'm still learning about their lives too, which makes it better. Also, when I went to San Diego State, I had a very, very, very good mentor and friend, and her name is Leilani Grajeda, and she actually was one of the first people that helped me to really be truly authentic to who I am, to myself, to my culture. So she's definitely a hero and a Shero for me and for many others. I also want to say that both of my daughters are my heroes too. They touch me in a very, very special place.
Thank you so much, Gisel. Thank you so much. That was very heartwarming. Awesome. Okay, so we're just going to roll with the next person to answer the question. Kaelynn, you're next. Please tell us where you're from, what mark do you want to leave on the world, and who's your Shero?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kaelynn. I'm from San Bruno. One mark I would like to leave on the world is, I guess, just who I am in, like, my identities, bringing my culture into, like, the workforce and the people I come across in the world. And my heroes would have to be my sisters who are on this Zoom meeting right now. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, we're all first generation students who are trying to make it out for, like, our family and our communities. So yeah, they inspire me.
Thank you, Kaelynn. Thank you so much. Lucy, please share.
So I am, much like Gisel, I am a Peninsula native. I'm born and raised here in the Bay Area. I've been in San Bruno my entire life, except for the short period of time that I went to UC Berkeley, so I stayed in Berkeley, but still local. My family also strong Mexican-American background, and there's nothing I love more than holding on to the culture that keeps us together and keeps us tight, and the value system that comes with it. That's something I cherish. And so when I connect that very much to the mark that I want to leave in this world, because it was my grandmother who is, I want to say, my strongest Shero, who I was able to spend plenty of time with, and who really set the foundation for me that said, leave this world a little bit better than where we came from. And so the mark that I consistently think about, I mean, it shifts with with life and everything, but I think at the end of the day that I do want to leave it better for not only women, but women of color, people of color, create spaces, disrupt spaces that need to be disrupted, so that we have a voice. So I want to give voice to those that maybe don't see that they have it, and I want to give them that power to speak up. So that's the mark that I hope to leave behind. In terms of my share, as I said, my grandmother, my Mama Maria was, will always, I remember it was in the 4th grade when she told me the story, but it doesn't leave my mind and heart. Is she would always get her pencils broken by my great-grandfather because he didn't believe that girls should go to school. So she self-taught herself how to read and write. And I remember her sitting with me in the 4th grade as I was doing my homework saying, don't ever take that for granted. Hold on to that pencil because that's the power that you have. And so when I thought about education from that moment forward, I needed to get to college as fast as I could because I didn't know if it would ever get taken away from me. So I never take my education and the place and space I hold even now as a counselor for granted, because I know that that's power that my grandmother didn't have, and that's not too many generations away from me. I'm the first in my family to go to college, so much like my grandmother is my Shero, I want to say, coming from a strong matriarchal family, all the women in my family are my Sheroes, because they all, while they didn't all go to college, they all have a skill and tool that they've taught me and blessed me with, and blessed the family with. And now that I have a little one who's a little boy, I want to make sure that I shift conversations and dynamics for him so that he can be, so he can have agency. But he's also my hero. He saved me in ways I didn't think I needed to be saved, and provided a rebirth for me. So much the past, present, and future are all my people in those areas have been my heroes. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Lucy. I think I'm going to be in tears, and we just got started. This is amazing. Olivia, please, it's your turn. Please share.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I was born in San Francisco, raised in Vallejo, so East Bay, and I've lived in Pacifica for about 9 years now, so that's my background. Mark, I want to leave on the world, so I want to be a female engineer and entrepreneur, eventually owning my own business in the STEM field. I feel like diversity inclusion is probably the biggest thing I want to tackle, and just add more females to the dominant field of engineering. It's mostly males, and I just want to encourage more women and girls to get into science majors. My heroes would be all the single moms out there right now, or moms that don't have as much help as they would without daycare, and making everything work. It's a lot of stress for everybody that had a full schedule and now having to tailor things around their children. So I think that's pretty heroic. Also, there's a lot of recovering addicts and alcoholics out there that are managing to keep their recovery strong through this process, and I feel like that's really honorable thing to do. And it's people that were used to meeting in person to keep the recovery has switched to meeting online, so I know that could be a difficult time for people. That's it.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you. Emilie, you're next.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's going to be, as you said, it's getting really emotional. It's really touching to hear all these stories. So my name is Emilie. I grew up in France, and I moved to the States to go to school, and now I teach physics at Skyline. And in terms of mark that I want to leave in the world, I think for me it's at an individual level, where I put, my little mark on maybe some people here and there, and I'm kind of like excited to see that grow into bigger things. And in terms of my heroes, I have a lot of you said I am a single mom. I have my 2 little boys who are absolutely my heroes right now. and you know, women close to me, and my mom, my sister, aunt, and when I say close to me, it's like over here, because you know they're in different parts of the world. But and also it's funny because I keep this by my desk. So this is Simone Weil. I added this part that was not part of the photo. So she did a lot for women in France, and she's an Auschwitz survivor. And so it's also to keep in mind all the, you know, the important work of all the women that happened in the past, and we all, you know, have been relying on, and also just to, you know, keep that image there, to also remember that, you know, we're all going through a lot, especially right now, but, you know, we can do this, and we can use this to get stronger, and you know, get past this, but in the process, be able to do even greater things. And my students also, my heroes, absolutely. They keep me on the schedule every day, and I love it. And they're absolutely, you know, we wouldn't be here without you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Emilie. Thank you so much. I should have made it mandatory to have a box of Kleenex or something as we listen to all these responses. Thank you so much. Sheroes in every space and every level. Maryam, you're next.
Hi, so I'm Maryam. Thank you for introducing me earlier. And so where am I from? So I was born and raised in the Bay Area. I was born in San Francisco. I grew up in South City. My parents immigrated from Pakistan. So I have my roots, although I grew up here, are actually from, you know, South Asia. And the mark that I want to leave on the world, I want to show those around me that historic barriers don't need to exist. They were made a long time ago, and they're not relevant. They weren't relevant then, and they're not relevant now at all. And in terms of my hero, I have so many different heroes and different aspects, but to kind of go back to, speaking of roots, going back to my childhood, I want to name out two. So this one's kind of funny. Once I was a little girl and I got lost in the shopping mall, and a police officer found me, and this police officer was a woman. And it blew my mind that this lady, you know, wearing this suit and holding a gun, and like she had her badge on, that just blew my mind. And in my mind, just how I was raised, I never thought that could be a role for a woman. And fast forward to a few years later, I'm in 3rd grade, and we get these like weekly readers. And on one of them, there was a cover of a woman, and there was a rocket ship behind her, and it was Sally Ride, the first woman in space. And I just thought, wow, that is amazing. And I feel like those are kind of like the small footprints or the small steps that kind of led me to where I am now. Yeah.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Maryam, for sharing that. Pam, it's your turn. Please share.
Thank you. So where I'm from, I was born in Mexico City, Mexico, and grew up in Guadalajara, Mexico. And then when I was 9 years old, my family and I moved to the United States, and I grew up here in Stockton, California, and then moved to the Bay Area for college, and ended up staying, so here I am. What mark do I want to leave in the world? I think what's important to me is the mark of kindness and compassion. I think that I want to, every person and me, show them a little bit of that, or, you know, as much as I can. I think that we could all use more of that in this life, and I think it's really important. And as a sculptor, I do clay, mixed media, wood, metal kinds of sculpture, and I think that beauty is such an important thing, and I wanted to kind of make and leave beautiful things in this lifetime as much as I can. And my Shero that's a tough one for me. I think I'm in a place in my life where I'm so appreciative of all the women that have existed in my life, you know, starting with, of course, my mother, my grandmothers, and I think I've been really blessed to have amazing femtors, is what I've been taught to call them, female mentors.
So amazing mentors, women that have guided me through homelessness, women that have guided me through assault, women that have guided me through divorce. Amazing, just strong, powerful women that have so much knowledge and so much love to give always. And I also teach teenagers, and these young teenage girls, young women are so amazing. I'm constantly inspired by them. So I think right now I'm just very appreciative of all the women that I've had the chance to have in my life.
For sure. Thank you, Pam. Thank you. You all are so amazing. Oh my goodness. Dr. Stroud, you're our last panelist for the first question.
Oh, thank you so much. And if you don't mind, so first I want to say that I'm just completely humbled by all of the greatness that is sitting on this panel and the hearing your stories. If you don't mind, I thought about your question, and I quickly put together something that I wanted to share. And so I'm going to do a screen share just to talk a little bit about where I'm from, and who my heroes are, my Sheroes are, etc. And so I wonder if you can see it. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to talk about I'm from North Carolina, and the reason that's significant is because I'm from the segregated South. And then the next thing that I closely identify with is then I went from there to Howard University, which was the most significant thing that happened in my life, where I learned that, there were African-American chief of surgeries and African-American professors and chemists and physics and social scientists, et cetera. So it had a significant impact. But when I think about who my Sheroes are, I think about it in the context of the past and the present and the future. And in terms of the past, there are people like Mary Eliza Mahoney, who you see here, and Jesse McGuire Dent, who was one of the founders of Delta Sigma Theta. These were people who were, nurses. Don't know if you know I'm a nurse, and teachers, and I've been a faculty member. But also, when I was growing up, you couldn't tell me I wasn't Angela Davis. As a matter of fact, I know it's hard for you to tell the difference between my picture that's there in the red, black, and green, and Angela Davis, which is next to me. But you couldn't tell me I wasn't Angela Davis. So she was definitely a Shero. And then, even as we look to people who were part of the resistance or people who were part of the system, like, Michelle Obama. And then, of course, the foundation of my Shero-ness is my mother, Betty Stanback-Stroud, but that embodies an entire community. It's my mother and her friends, Miss Olivia, Miss Beatty, Miss Thomas, Miss Pearl. All of those people were people who, I looked up to and I was inspired by, and who shaped me and walked me along. But then also I have, my Sheroes are, in my present, so I think about my wife, my family, my beautiful daughter-in-law. Those are people that are in my life that inspire me and make me want to do things and leave a mark and have an impact every day. But then I think about my Shero, I think about the future. And this is what inspires me to work for a better future. This is what makes me want to make sure the air is clean and the water's drinkable, make sure that we are doing things that make this world a better place, so that when, I and many of you are long gone, that she and her offspring and her daughters and granddaughters will have a world that's a better place. And if you ask me what impact I want to leave, I used to think that the answer that I give was one of those, what I call the beauty pageant answers, where you say, what do you want to do? And you just say, well, I just want to save mankind, Well, I actually want to have an impact of decreasing human misery and increasing world peace. And I actually believe that's possible. And so everything that I do, even though it might not look like it's connected, everything that I do is connected to decreasing human misery and increasing world peace. And then finally, before I finish the comment of saying who my Sheroes, the truth is that when I look at many of you that are on the panel, I'm proud of the fact that you were part of my efforts to decrease human misery and increase world peace, as we took intentional and deliberate steps to make sure that phenomenal people like you had roles, because you could influence the minds of students that would be before you. So when I look at most of you, I'm inspired that panned out, and that we made the best decisions that we could to serve our community by putting people like you in front of those students every day. So I'll stop it with that. Thank you.
So I teased at, being emotional, and you made us cry. So I think, thank you so much for your thoughts and insights. And I feel like we all just need a minute after that. I'm so glad we saved your part for last. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Dr. Stroud.
Of course, thank you
so much. So we're going to shift just a tad, because I do have some other questions that I want us to get into, and I'd like to hear. We really have time for everyone to have about one question, but if you're just burning to say something, I want to create space for that as well. Okay, Gisel. This next question is for you to kick off. I'd like to talk about the importance of good and sound advice, because you are a business strategist. You give advice to people, and I'd like you to tell us, why does it matter? Did you get advice from someone that helped you to leave your mark, on the road to leaving your mark in this world?
So I do give a lot of advice, but I also listen to a lot of advice. And I think the most important thing that I do tell everyone that I come in contact with, everyone that's willing to listen, is you have to do what's best for you in that moment. Like, no matter what, you always have to think about like who you are, what is your lifestyle, I mostly talk to business owners. So if they're saying like, oh, I want to do like, to start a whole new business, I'm like, okay, you can't do it like 50 hours a week if you have a full-time job and you have kids and you have a family and you need time for yourself. So maybe realistically start with just like 30 minutes a day, So the thing that I say the most is, not all advice is good advice for you. So just take what is the best for you in that moment, in that moment in your life, because our lives are always changing. And so the advice that I have recently received, or in the past few years that I've been kind of really just sitting with it and experimenting with it, is that failures are not real, and that we experience things in our lives because we need to, because it's all part of a journey, and that this whole socially constructed idea of a failure is really just our egos, or the really big ego influencers in our society that tell us that if you don't do this, you'll fail, and then you're going to be a failure, and then you're going to suck for the rest of your life. That is not real. If we don't do things or we experience things, it's because we're meant to learn from them. And even if we don't understand why we're going through them in that moment, which that's the really, really sucky part, the really unfortunate part, is that sometimes we don't understand why we're going through what we're going through. But yeah, I have committed myself to no longer experiencing failures because they're not failures.
Gisel, thank you. I think you made some excellent points there, and I think it's a really good time. I'm going to have Lucy, you pick this up, and I'd like you to tell us, to Gisel's point, is there a difference between failure and making a mistake? And why is it important to make mistakes?
So what I'm going to do this in the context of how I work with students. And so oftentimes in the transfer center, students come in like, I made a mistake or I messed up and I failed and now my life is over because I can't transfer to the school I want to, I can't pursue the goals that I want to. I'm kind of on the same wavelength with, he said when I'm saying this, you need to fail and you need to make mistakes in order to be successful. If you are successful at making these mistakes and you are able to learn from them, then you are doing yourself the biggest favor. Because if we can take, as he said, take our mind off of these socially constructed like benchmarks that a lot of us, that our society has pushed us to think we need. At this age, we need to do this. And I often hear this in the transfer center, I need to be out of Skyline, and I need to have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree by the time I'm this age, because if not, I've failed. If you do you and you remember the context that you're doing, you're setting your goals for, and you get there, then the timeline doesn't matter as long as you're staying true to who you are and meeting the responsibilities that you have to. And if you fail or you make a mistake, that means you succeeded. You succeeded at figuring out that doesn't work for you, but this will. So that's when I think of mistakes and I think of failure. As long as you learn something from it, then that was the best mistake and best successful point of that, intersection for you at that part in your journey. So that's my take on mistakes and failure. It's a success point to me.
Can I ask something to that?
Yeah, for sure.
So just to kind of piggyback on this theme of failure, my favorite acronym for failure is first attempt in learning. So it's not something to stay on, it's something for you to move forward with and carry with you, just in a positive growth mindset.
Ooh, I like that, Maryam. I'm gonna take that.
I think you're someone, so please just share it.
For sure.
Right. Well, it's interesting to see the different ways you can approach mistakes versus failures and the different ideas that exist out there about what they are and what they mean to you. So thank you guys for that. Our next question, we're going to shift a little bit, and Dr. Stroud, and actually a couple of you mentioned our current state of affairs. And so when I think about our global pandemic that we are all experiencing in different ways right now, and I think about our everyday heroes, I believe the term we're using now is essential worker. I think it's kind of shed some light on all these people that are doing everyday things. So my question is, I'm going to start with you, Regina, and then shift to another speaker. But I would love for you to share, what would you say to our listeners, to our audience members, about our everyday heroes, our essential workers right now? How do we honor them in the best way possible at this point?
Yes, thank you. Well, the first thing I would say is that their, for lack of a better term, essentiality didn't start with the COVID-19 pandemic. People who are in positions that are providing anything from healthcare to advice to support to mental health support, all of those different types of things that are getting us through this pandemic, especially in the context of a country that doesn't seem to have the leadership at the top in terms of the political will to do what's necessary in order to save lives across the world, not just in this country, but across the world. And we see the results of that. Then these people have been in this mix for a very long time, and it didn't start with the pandemic. The other thing is that I would say to anybody and to everybody is that what we're really great at in this country is we're really great at the symbolic praise. We will tie a yellow ribbon around a tree. We will support our troops. We will wear a flag. pin on our lapel, while the majority of the enlisted people in the military have to have supplemental assistance and food stamps. We will talk about how important teachers are, while many of the teachers live below poverty level, because we don't value the profession enough to pay them in the way that we value, for an example, entertainers or other types of heroes. And that's the same thing with healthcare. We have, not that, I'm a nurse, but we have historically not had the political will to make some of the decisions that need to be made in order to support what needs to support in order for us to be well. Anytime you find that it's amazing in this country, anytime we find that we need to send a bunch of men into something to be in combat or be in war, etc., then money is not a discussion. It is, we will spend $5 billion a day, in order to exact that kind of extreme response on another nation. But when we're talking about healthcare workers, we're not willing to do what we need to do in order to get the things that we need, such as the PPEs and those types of things. So I don't mean to get on a political soapbox, but that's where I live. Because I really do believe in speaking the truth about these things. I don't even know what the question was that you asked me, but that's my opinion.
You answered it. You didn't even know what the question was, and you answered it. That is fantastic. So thank you, Dr. Stroud. Pam, I'm going to just bring you into this question because you work with our Dream Center community, and so I'd like you to really briefly touch a little bit on our Sheroes in that space.
Yeah. So I'm kind of focusing in on the second part of the question here, where it says, how should we honor them? And I think the big part of that is advocacy. And so, coming from the perspective of undocumented workers, so many right now are still out in doing the cleaning in the fields, doing all these things, required to keep our society moving and going. But at the same time, what we're doing is not allowing them to receive stimulus support, not giving them the support. Even if you're out on the field, you should still have protection because you're out every single day. But they're not seen as essential as maybe healthcare. We're not saying that one is more important than the other, right? But that everybody deserves, if we're putting people out there, everybody deserves the care and the advocacy to be supporting them. We wouldn't be able to eat. We wouldn't be able to go out into certain places right now to go grocery shopping if undocumented people weren't on the front lines doing all this work. And I think it's important to recognize that and to honor that all the time, not now, because especially when you think about how folks say, well, they're taking our jobs, right, or whatnot. But now that these jobs no one wants to do these jobs, no one wants to be out putting themselves on the front line, risking their and their family's health. And we have these folks that we're kind of putting at the bottom and really not providing the support that they need to be able to be successful, not giving the access to health care, giving access to financial support. So I think, again, to honor them, I think we should really continue to be advocates and don't let this become something that we forget once this is over, that we continue to remember and honor the people that are out there working every day to keep everything going, out there risking their lives. Personal to me, my mother and father are undocumented, and, my father is out every single day working, getting things done. He works in a pallet making company, and pallets are really needed right now for the mass amounts of shipping that are being made, but he's out there on the line every single day. And it's difficult that he doesn't have access to all the things that I feel like he should have access to make sure that he's safe, that he's healthy, and that he can continue to do this work. And especially when we think about these aids that keep coming out and bringing it back to education, Betsy DeVos now saying that she wants FAFSA qualifications for students to qualify for emergency grants, that disqualifies our international, our undocumented students. And I get so many questions of students saying, well, I'm working, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, but I still don't have enough. What is there for me? and we are just saying, sorry, we can't. I don't think that's enough. I think that we should be fighting back against these policies and really using the time and the strength that we have to keep advocating for folks to have fair and equitable access to support.
Thank you, Pam. Absolutely, our heroes need us. I think both you and Dr. Stroud nicely illustrated why and how vital advocacy is to these people, that this is not anything new just because we are in this situation now, but it has highlighted some things. So thank you so much for your thoughtful responses. So I want to talk a little bit about, I'd like us to talk a little bit about obstacles. We seem to be on that train right now. Kaelynn, I'm gonna pass the ball to you. Tell us, share a little bit about some obstacles that you have faced. Did they make you stronger, or was it just the worst? Why are obstacles important? And do you have any advice to the listening audience on how to overcome obstacles?
For me personally, I would say an obstacle I had to overcome was like my mental health. Yeah, so, okay, 2 years ago, okay, I'm about to cry. Okay, I'm gonna just share it. 2 years ago, my first college I attended was UOP in Stockton, and I felt like I didn't have the necessary like support system to help me do my best while out there. And as a POC, like growing up, I don't know, okay. I was just taught to like internalize my problems, so I didn't really like seek help. I just kept things to myself, leading to isolation and like, you know, I guess, I don't know, at one point I felt depressed and I didn't have anyone like an outlet or like anyone to like vent to, I guess, or like seek help. And then, so I came back, I found a new support system at Skyline, you know, with the communities and like counselors to help me stay on the right track and, you know, help me overcome my mental problems. And yeah, I don't know, I just thought I wasn't good enough, and like you guys mentioned before, like failure or whatever, like it was just my first attempt and it wasn't for me during that time. And yeah, I don't know, it was just one stage in my life that I had to get through, and I'm glad that like I overcame it and it's over, but I'm not ashamed of it. I'm glad it happened to me. I'm thankful for the people that I've come across to, you know, help me do better and like, I guess, get the necessary support that I needed, personal counseling, and finding a family on ASSC, having my sisters, and, you know, people who have the same end goal, similar end goals, and just knowing that it's obtainable to achieve. And, you know, I'm not alone in this. So, yeah, I didn't expect to cry, but okay, thank you.
That's okay. Kaelynn, I hope you're looking at the chat right now. It's lit. Like, it is all about how much we love you, Kaelynn, in this chat. So take a second and look at the chat. And I hope that is somewhat uplifting to your spirit right now, because there's nothing but love for Kaelynn happening on the side, on this chat. So check it out. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's not easy to talk about by any means. And it's something we don't talk about enough. especially as an obstacle, it's a barrier for a lot of people, and it really gets swept under the rug. So thank you so much for being so brave, and to talk about that, like talk about a Shero moment. That's amazing. So thank you. And yeah, like I said, love, love, love happening on the chat right now. So hopefully we save this. Put it in your pocket, you know. And you are now a student trustee, Kaelynn. That is big stuff. It's a pretty big feat that you have accomplished. And I imagine there will be different types of obstacles just in that space. And as you learn how to be a board member for the Board of Trustees and what that means, and you know how to navigate that area and everybody that's on the board. So what's something you would, as a student trustee, what's one nugget of advice you would give your fellow students when it comes to obstacles they might face at work, right, or on a board?
I would say
real talk stuff, Kaelynn.
I would say share your experience and your story with, you know, people who are there for you. Like I had to vent, like it wasn't by choice, but I vented to a transfer counselor and I opened up and shared my story, and she helped me. Like what I tell y'all, like she did the most when she didn't have to. So as I mentioned before, I did really poorly at UOP because of the environment I was in and like stuff I was going through. And she helped me petition for like a retroactive withdrawal from the whole institution, and it helped me get into like, you know, colleges that I'm transferring to, like San Jose and other schools. So I'm just thankful for like people who are there, like to, you know, help you in your situation and just you know, show you that it's not the end for you. So yeah, just sharing your story.
Thank you, Kaelynn. Dr. Stroud, you have a reputation. You're actually notorious for realizing what it takes to make such a tremendous difference in someone's life. And just like Kaelynn mentioned, someone was able to make it so she could go back to school and have a different life. Could you quickly just speak to that?
Sure. So one of the things I believe, and it took me a little while to learn it, because it took me a little while to understand the value of my contribution. You know, I always thought, well, you know, it's just me. I mean, what can I do? And it would be manifest no matter what happened. If somebody wanted me to do, let's say they wanted me to speak, that, you know, my wife can tell you that, you know, at home, I'll be sitting here the night before saying, what on earth am I going to say to them? I mean, you know, who am I to say anything? And so we go through these things all the time because we don't recognize the value of what we have to contribute. And I think we minimize it because we don't realize just how powerful it can be in somebody else's life. And I decided at a certain point, and, you know, quite frankly, I'm embarrassed to say that it took me a while to get there in my professional life. I always kind of focused on, you know, getting things done and doing a good job and that kind of stuff. But when I became the president at Skyline, and I realized that that, you know, people were counting on me, that it wasn't just about like whether they got the class they wanted to teach or whether they got the job they wanted to get or whether they, you know, got a chance to buy whatever supply they wanted to buy, that they were counting on me because if they didn't get a certain reclassification, they were going to not be able to pay their rent, and then social services was taking their children. I mean, it was big stuff that I had the ability to impact with the stroke of a pen. And so once I realized that, I decided that I would not ever waste space, that it didn't make any sense. What good is it for all of the people who I want to serve? What good is it for me to sit there if I'm not intentional and deliberate around it? If I don't use my position of influence and consequence to make a difference in their lives, then I'm wasting space and I'm collecting a paycheck. And I can do that, but you end up not making the difference that you can. So every decision for me everything I did all day long. I don't care if I was walking over to a budget committee meeting. I don't care what I was doing. Everything was about somebody else other than myself. Everything was that if I didn't do this, then, for an example, Emily couldn't move to the Bay Area, or Lucy wouldn't be able to be in that dream job that she got as a counseling faculty member, or all of the young women at Skyline College wouldn't have access to a phenomenal physics instructor or chemist or whoever it might be, or wouldn't be able to experience, what Maryam has to offer. That it mattered what I did, Like when I look at Pamela, we stood up a dream center in 2 weeks. Now, when I say we, I mean a lot of people made that happen. Regina didn't do it. Angelica Garcia made a big difference. I mean, there were big things. Luis Escobar made a big difference, but we stood that dream center up in 2 weeks so that Pamela could be there. And that's not just supporting Pamela, but it supports every single person that comes through that center or that will come through that center. So that's how profound what you do, where you think it's not a big deal. It's just me. What do I have to offer? That is the depth of the impact you can have on people's lives. And again, I have no idea what question you asked me.
Yeah, that keep answering the question. Thank you, Dr. Stroud. So I have one more question, and this is for Olivia and Emilie. I'd like you guys to tell us, we've talked about pain and mistakes and obstacles, and I'd like to switch gears a little bit. Olivia, tell us what brings you joy. I think it's important to also tap into some of that right now. Tell us, Olivia, what brings you joy?
I think that my kids definitely bring me joy. Just taking a break and being in the moment of, after having a long day and just, I'm sorry, everybody just kind of made me, but we go through a lot during the day and even during this pandemic, and it's crazy and it's stressful, but I feel like it's important to just take a minute to relax and to just center yourself and not stress so much. Yesterday I was coloring with my daughter and she was just sitting there watching me, and I thought that, these are the moments that I live for, just to be there. Like if I'm working all day or for running around going to school, and you never get those moments of time where you just get to see them watch you, or just do the little things. And I think that's what brings me joy, and being able to relax and just listen to music and not stress for a minute. And I think that's what's been bringing me joy lately. So yeah.
Thank you, Olivia. Dr. Hein, what brings you joy? How do we find joy right now?
Well, I think there's a lot of little ways we can find joy right now, especially remembering that we don't need all that much in the end. I mean, we need the minimum. So, and kind of to also just bring back just for a second what we talked about in the struggles and all that. A big part of what brings me joy is actually related to that, because it's in finding ways to use those things that I've been through, and the experiences of things I have overcome, and even situations of abuse and traumas that help me be and find more empathy, and just also recognizing those struggles in others. Because I feel like in some ways, we're talking about superpowers and whatnot, but I think, if we take all these difficult things that we've been through and we learn from them, and we actually, going through this, seeing all the students who are struggling with this situation right now, because I've been through difficult times, I know what it feels like, and I feel like that makes me that makes it easier for me to see it and to help them, because I know what it feels like. And the reason I bring this and to answer this question is that what's brought me so much joy is that you know, having them come to me and just tell me, hey, you made a huge difference to me in my life today, like just this little thing you said or this little thing you did, and again, like just feeling like it doesn't necessarily take a whole lot from me, but I think we all have a huge impact in a lot of people's life potentially right now, and it doesn't take a whole lot. It can be, you know, a phone call. It can be, you know, we teach, I teach, you know, I have a class with like, you know, lots and lots of students. So I feel like I have kind of this responsibility weekly to just check in with them and just to be there for them. And sometimes, you know, you don't necessarily hear back, but when you do, it's just so, it just keeps me going every day. And, you know, and then there's the little things of like, you know, I'm going to bake a cake with my kids, and we're going to, and it's just remembering that what matters right now, it's not the cake, it's just the process of being with my kids in the moment. And I think it's just the process also of being with people and connecting in new ways, in different ways, that I think we are relearning and reevaluating. And I think those are the things that bring me the most joy, and that and we can find, you know, new ways to connect in this crazy world right now. But and hopefully we keep that with us, you know, when we come out of this.
Yes, for sure. A lot of post-pandemic lessons here, I think, that we should definitely keep with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Hein and Olivia, for sharing your tidbits about joy. So we are butting up till the time. We're going to start wrapping up the panel. I know some of you have to go. I have one final question for everybody. If you'll just indulge me a little bit. You guys like Alicia Keys? I love Alicia Keys. So she has a song called Superwoman, and it's one of my favorites, so I had to work this into the questions. In the lyrics, she says, even when I'm a mess, I still put on a vest with an S on my chest. So for everybody, we're going to take turns. Quickly, what is the S on your chest? Giselle. Giselle's frozen. Lucy.
The irony is this is a song that was playing after I received the call from Dr. Stanback-Stroud for this position. So it's a very meaningful song to me. It has so many meanings to me, but it's I know it doesn't start with an S, but it's not just Superwoman. To me, it's a centering of where I am and who I want to be. So that's what it is for me.
Thank you, Lucy. Kaelynn, what's that S on your chest? What does that mean to you?
Can you get back to me real quickly? I want to hear.
Absolutely. Dr. Hein, what's the S on your chest?
Well, it's going to be cheesy, but I feel like I have to say science. So,
Awesome.
And STEM or whatever. But yeah, we have so many S's, right? So, but I'll go with that to represent.
That's awesome. Pamela, Pam.
Sorry, I was muted. I want to say peace with myself, and this is also what I want to share with all my fellow women, is that you're always enough, woman enough, person enough, whether you present hyperfem, whether you present mask, whether you have children or children are not in your plan, whether your career is something that's traditionally feminine or something not. I think regardless of what you do, where you're at, you are always enough, you're always woman enough, and that has given me a lot of peace and power.
Thank you. Olivia, when you're not feeling it, how do you put that S on your chest?
I would say the S for me probably stands for single mom or STEM, because it's a harder job than most people think, and you know, with having 2 kids and being in the STEM field, it's a little it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding in the end, both jobs.
Thank you. Maryam.
I want to save my inner child. So when I'm feeling down, I have to think about her, and I have to think about what does she need, and I have to fight for her to move forward.
Yes, hell yes, if I may. Thank you, Maryam. Gisel.
The S, actually, yeah, the first word that comes to my mind is super, but actually like in Spanish, like super. I don't know why it sounds better to me in Spanish. Like super. It's kind of just like a prefix to anything that I want to be in that moment, or yeah. So it could be a super mom, a super woman, a super wife, a super daughter, super anything that I want to do in that moment. A super person washing the dishes, because sometimes I need some help doing that too. So yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Gisel. Kaelynn, you ready? Tell us.
Hi. Okay. I would have to say super for like strength, and one thing I do is like sing my, pain or like struggles away. One way I cope with things and releases all my stress. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kaelynn. Dr. Stroud, S on your chest. What does that mean?
I would say the S on my chest stands for soul. And it's the depth of my essence, and that includes strength and vision and hope and courage, and also from whence I come, which is, a real soulful existence. So I would say soul.
Okay. Well said, every single one of you. We're going to wrap our panel. I want to take a moment on behalf of Skyline College. Thank you all for your time today and your insights. And all the wonderful, important things that you said. Thank you for being my Sheroes. I am so in awe at every single one of you. And I look up to all of you, BT Dubs, in case you didn't know that. So thank you so much for being a part of this event. And this is in honor of National Superhero Day. So super awesome. Thank you guys so much. I hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy out there. And we'll see you soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.